Yay! I am now live on YouTube, apparently.
Wonderful.
I'm not sure about LinkedIn, but I've got Helen on the case as well, and we'll find out later whether I actually made it to Facebook. But it's telling me on the screen that I am live in all three spaces.
Oh, fabulous. That's good.
Wow. So obviously this is a test run. So I have brought you here under false pretenses so that we can chat about nothing really. But just I've got one person watching, which I assume if somebody can put in the chat who that is, that would be brilliant. I assume it's probably Helen, but if it's Mrs. Wogan, that would be lovely. If you can hear me, then please put in the chat that you are here and watching, because that would be really good. But what would be even better is to see two people watching. I've only got one at the moment, which means somebody's missing. And it'd be good to find out whether they are on YouTube or on Facebook. So while we let people find out what's going on, tell me how your talk went, Mr. Weston. Tell me how it was, because that's what I do is I speak to speakers, and you are a speaker.
That's correct. And after the COVID and lockdown for two years, I hadn't done any speaking at all. And I was a little bit, it was a bit trepidatious to get up there again. But when we had when you spoke to me about speaking and pointed out my flaws and possibly my the bullet points and that you gave me for my speech, I think it helped tremendously. The fact that you made me write them down on cards, I didn't need them on the night, which was amazing, because I could see them on the cards, and I knew the points that you pointed out, and the delivery of them helped me a great deal. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I'm glad you didn't need them on the night. And I think that's the whole point, is that people use those cards or a script or bullet points or whatever. Sorry, Helen has just looked. We've got Helen here.
Oh, good.
Who's saying it's about weird because there's a delay between the two. Oh, thank you, Helen. She's saying it's like an echo. She said, I can see you both LinkedIn. I can't write on YouTube. Never mind.
Oh, right.
But that's good to know. That's good to know. But as I was saying, I think Mum's on my page on Facebook, but she hasn't put anything down yet, and I'm not seeing her. Nothing happening. Oh, that's strange. I wonder why. Wonder whether I have to do something.
If she's doing anything.
Let me see if I go into Facebook whether there's anything there. Oh.
What you got?
It says it is on, well, it's there on Power to Speak. It's coming up.
I can give her a call and see if she can.
I'm just texting her. Because it's coming up on my phone that if I go into Facebook on my phone. Oh, look. Yes, we are live. What you got? Oh, my phone. Oh, look. There's a delay.
Oh, right.
There's obviously a delay on Facebook, but I can see it. We are live on Facebook too, so that's good. So we're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I can't see how you do it on Facebook. Don't worry, Helen. We will. Yeah, my mum hopefully will see it on Facebook, but I can see it on Facebook too. So it's on the Power. I think so, says Mum. It's on Power to Speak UK, which is my Facebook business page. But what's quite strange is that Facebook, which I've got on my phone, is actually got captions on it. So it's repeating everything that I'm saying, but about 3 seconds later.
All right. So is the voice delay between us and Helen?
I don't know. Helen, is there a voice delay? Does it look like we're speaking at the same time as our mouths are moving? Oh, my goodness. There is now 5 people watching. So
Welcome.
welcome to this live test run. I would be really, really interested to see who you are. So please put comments. Yay. Please put comments in the chat and we'll find out who you are. This is a test run for Power to Speak. Speakers Speaking About Speaking, which is going out on Tuesday with Tom Morris, America's philosopher and keynote speaker extraordinaire. So I'm just testing out the equipment to make sure that everything's working so that when I have this fabulous man on, not that my father here, Paul Weston, a renowned stuntman and stunt coordinator and speaker, isn't that very, very same amazing person.
Thank you, darling. I need
Yes,
the confidence I get.
but yes, I'd rather this not go horribly wrong with oh, thank you, Dolly. Look, we can show there. Look, Dolly Wogan, I've just found you. Good luck. Thank you, Dolly. How amazing is this? Isn't this brilliant? So yes, we are going live. Somebody's just dropped off, but we've got a heart, so that's good. Somebody's given us a heart. Oh, it's John. It's John Orty. Look at this. No delay, all seems good. Both looking very well. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
So, Paul, as we've got an audience, tell us a little bit more about why you felt the need to step in front of an audience and share your story.
Well, having the life and career that I have and working on the movies that I have done, people are interested and they want to hear the stories, and I've got probably too many stories to tell. But every movie has its own story, and it's remembering all those stories and how to tell them. If I haven't told a story for a long time, somebody brings it up, and then I have to dig deep to think, how did I tell it last time? Was it, it's a timing as always. And the emphasis on certain parts of the story that it's comic timing really that you need when you're entertaining somebody, and I need to do that every time I get on stage. I have to try to think of how best to tell the stories that they're interested in. Yeah. Sometimes someone throws a question at you that brings up a totally old story, an event that happened that they know happened, and then you have to remember to tell it the right way with the confidence that you're remembering it as it goes along. It's always those stumbles and you're trying to think of the next part of the story that is always a worry. And that's when, with your confidence that you give people, you carry on. You know the story really, and it's just having the confidence to go right through it and tell the story.
Yeah. Do you ever feel though that when you've told a story so many times, do you ever get the feeling that do you ever bore yourself with those stories? Because this is a kind of this is not just you, Dad. This is everybody. I do it the same if I'm being a podcast guest. I've got a store of stories that I tell that I think are interesting and relevant to the audience. But every time I tell them, even though I'm telling them to a different audience, it kind of feels like I'm repeating myself.
Yes, you do repeat yourself, and and I remember working with David Niven and reading his books and watching him on television, and he told the same stories over and over again, and the punchlines were just the same, but he got it down to a fine art. His stories were like a script, and he told it, and we used to, as you were out there in Greece with us, and we'd sit at a table with him, and he would tell you the story that you read in the book. you enjoy telling the stories, but you want to get them right. And if you've got them in your mind, and you've enjoyed the story, you enjoy telling it. You enjoy. I always feel you're giving something back to fans or to people you're entertaining. Is that I've been fortunate enough to enjoy those stories and be on those movies and meet those people, and they haven't had the chance to do that. By my telling them the stories and involving them, they go away with something that they hadn't had before, an insight into a movie or into an actor or a story that they can enjoy and pass on. And I think that's the joy of doing what we do in speaking and doing signings and meeting fans, is that you're passing something on and you're giving something that you've enjoyed, and you're giving them the enjoyment of coming along with you on that story.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that. Look, we've got Karen May has joined us. Yeah,
No,
your dad's stories are the best. Excellent. Thank you for being here, Karen.
yeah.
Which is great. And John has answered again. Paul has great stage presence. Ooh, he tells the stories and the audience are captivated. Brilliant. Thank you, John. Were you there, John, when he who was the guy that you dressed up in the pads last time?
Oh no, that was Gareth Owen at the Bond Stars at Pinewood.
Yeah.
No, John wasn't there, I don't think. So otherwise, I'd have got him up there. He would have been the fight demonstration.
Look at this. Look, we're being joined by everybody. Look, we've got Joe Sampy now. Hello, Joe. We've got 7 people watching. This was really just a test run for my Tuesday, where I talked to probably, well, I mean, Tom on Tuesday is quite fun to talk to, but generally they're going to be sort of speakers and speaking coaches, whereas today you're being entertained by the very famous Paul Weston. So yeah, this is great fun. I'm enjoying this. We're gonna go probably for another 5 minutes.
Okay.
Let's do that, just to see if we can, see if we can grab any more people. So you did a presentation last week to our local Amdram group, who you went in and helped. And I've been in. I went in and watched their play the other evening and gave them some feedback, which I hope they appreciated. It sounded like they did. But you went in and helped them out with a fight scene that they have to do in their play.
Yes.
Do you find that the audiences are generally receptive? Because obviously they, what you do on films, and you've worked on most of the best films of the last sort of 50 years, I would say. I can say that, slightly biased. Do the audience ever catch you out?
Not really. We're fortunate enough that most of the audiences are fans of film or Bond or Star Wars or Aliens, or so when they come to see you, they come to enjoy what you've done on those movies, and they want to know more about them. So they don't really. They may ask the odd questions of of how certain stunts were done. But really, they're mainly interested in enjoying the background of the scenes that they've been watched as all their lives, all the Bond films. They're generally on your side, so you have the confidence to be able to think, they're with me. It's when you go out onto a stage, which I did once in America, and it was like walking out onto a fridge, into a fridge. The audience were dead cold, and it took a lot of coercing and being Jack the Lad to bring them back in, because they had no idea who I was. It wasn't talking about my career. It was a play, but it was like being a stand-up comedian must be the worst thing in the world. And when you go out into an audience that is not receptive, and you do die a death, and I'm sure it must be terrible for them. But I'm fortunate, and most of the places that I go to, they are welcoming, and they want to know about my career. So they're on my side.
Excellent. We've got a comment here from hello. It is Poppy.
Hello, Poppy.
Say hi, Poppy. Oh, so lovely to have you here. So thank you for listening.
Yes, keep playing football.
Keep playing football. Excellent, excellent. Well, let's see if we can think of anybody got a question. Please type a question into the comments, and let's see if we can keep going for another 5 minutes. Anybody got a question? I will. I assume that's a Poppy. What's the question? Oh, we've got thumbs up. Look, Dolly says, you're doing brilliant. Love your guest.
Thank you, darling. Put the kettle on.
Excellent, excellent. So what's the weirdest question you've ever been asked in a Q&A at the end of one of your talks?
I'd walked onto the stage. Well, I was introduced on the stage on an Avengers convention, and the guy said, "Ladies and gentlemen, stunt coordinator, second year director, the 79-year-old Paul Weston." Why he said 79 years? I was 79 years old at the time. But I carried on, did the show and whatever. And at the Q&A at the end of it, there was a woman sitting in the front, and they were all asking different questions on stunts and explosions. And this woman put her hand up and said, "Yes, what's your question?" She said, "What is your facial routine?" I said, "Beg your pardon?" She said, "What's your facial routine? What do you use on your face?" I said, "Number 7. She said, "Yes." But she thought, I don't know why she thought, I was 78, 79 years old, I suppose. She thought my skin wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, that's not the question you would expect to be asked. No, but it works. Obviously, it works. We've been joined by Brenda, my lovely, lovely neighbour. Hello, Brenda. I will ask your question in a moment, but I think we're going to go over to Poppy, who asks, what was your best film you worked on?
The best film? Films are in different categories. From my point of view, is did I enjoy doing them? Was I satisfied with the work that we did and my stunts did? Was it box office? Doesn't really matter to us too much. Is that because once you've done it, there's no control over what they do with it, whether they advertise it or not or whatever. But if you've had a good time on a movie and you've achieved something, I remember on Dragonheart, the director said to me at the end of Picture Party, he said, "Thank you, Paul. You have come up with 11 different bits in the film that wouldn't be there if you hadn't have done it, if you hadn't have suggested them." And it may be a small thing of a way somebody does something, or a little bit of action, or something to help the actors maybe, but you feel you created something, you've been part of the creation. And when that's appreciated, you get a great deal of satisfaction out of it. And that's, we're all creative people, whether you're a painter or a writer or whatever, whether you're a painter and decorator, you get satisfaction out of what you do and what you achieve. And when you've achieved something that you're proud of, and you think, that was good. Life is you're satisfied, and you're pleased with what you've done. So yes, satisfaction really in your work.
Yes. So that was the answer, Poppy. I don't know which film that was, but I think maybe Dragonheart came up there. But yeah, whichever film gave him the most satisfaction, and that's
yes,
that I think was Dragonheart. Brilliant. Let's go over to Brenda. Is asking, any really scary moments?
Oh yes, a few. Once the accountant left, and I didn't think I was going to get paid. That was really scary.
That's scary.
But things like running on the top of the train on the Octopussy, doubling for Roger Moore. I sort of left it a bit too late, and it was scary for the fact afterward. But when I looked at the bridge and it was coming at me at 35 miles an hour, and I had seconds to get underneath it, that was for a few seconds really scary, and I felt the bridge bricks go over my head. I had wearing a wig at the time, and I just felt it just go through the wig. But yeah, there's times when there was one time, and I've never been frightened. You're very anxious of what you're doing, and you want to do a good job. So you build up, your adrenaline is pumping and whatever. But I've only ever been in a blue funk once in my life, and it was when I first started in the stunts. And I said I was going to climb out of a window. It was in Billingsgate Market, and I looked up. It was a derelict building, but there was 3 stories, and I was going to climb out of one window, and there was a little ledge, and I thought I could get to the next window, then the next one, and then drop down onto another sort of shelf, and then down into the street and away. And I said to the director during the day, yeah, I'll do that, and do that. I don't need any boxes. I'll do it freehand. When I got there, I looked at the ledge that I thought I could walk along, wasn't there. It was like a 2.5 inches ledge, and it had a little slope on it, so the rain went off. But so I had nowhere to put my feet, and I sat in that empty room with the camera crew outside, lights, everything done, ready to turn over. And I knew that if I climbed out that window, I could die. I could slip, and I had nothing to hold on to. And I was in the blue funk. I was really scared. My reputation, the fact that I could die. And I thought to myself, if somebody else asked me what I could do to get out of this situation, I thought I'd tell them if they could get their fingertips on something to hold on to, I could get from window to window. So I had to stop all the lighting and everything. I said, look, guys, I need a cherry picker to put a piece of wood across the top of the building so I can get my fingertips on. And they said, yeah, okay. And they did it. And I was able to do that job because I told myself what to do. And that I got over that blue funk that was in my mind. I just couldn't think. But it was being able to look at myself sitting on that box in a blue funk and telling myself, this is what you should do. If I was telling somebody else, that's what they would do. It was scary. And I've never, ever been in that situation again. I've never put myself in that situation again. I've always looked at the job seriously, and this was a night shot, and I would never do that again. Just assess a job without going up there and looking down.
Yeah, lesson learned. Lesson learned. Yeah, Helen's asking, were you wearing a harness? But I assume not.
No, it was completely free. I would have hit the 35, 40 feet below if I had come up with that piece of wood across the top that I could get my fingertips on and hold on to.
Right. Well, yeah, this was going to be a sort of 20-minute test run. We're now on like 24 minutes, and there's 2 more questions. So I'm going to take 2 more questions, and then we're going to have to leave you, I'm afraid. So I'll take 2 more questions. There's this from John, who says, something people may not know. Whilst in Sweden back in 2014, Paul showed us some great dance moves. The hot shuffle. Could you have made a career from dance, Paul?
Well, I think so. But I was in the chorus of The King and I for 6 months. So I did have to dance on stage in the Uncle Tom sequence, carrying a mobile and a lady. But I don't think I wasn't a bad dancer. I danced with Charlie Chaplin. So yeah, that was a waltz, mind you. But you know my moves, John. They're pretty good. I keep them in there. But
keep practicing.
I'm going to keep practicing.
We've got Megan. Hello, Megan. Nice to have you here. What's the most difficult film you've worked on?
Difficult difficult in terms of stunts. Sometimes you're on a location, like on a mountain, and you're trying to get a crew up on the top of a mountain in the snow, and sometimes it's difficult if there's no other way of getting up. Either you're helicoptered onto the top of the mountain. There's, it's logistics and getting from A to B on some movies are difficult and dangerous. Sometimes we've lost people in helicopters on mountains before, but difficult in terms of producers. Sometimes when you're trying to, they give you a script and they say, okay, that's your budget, and you look at it and you say, well, if you want this on your, on the screen, the budget's got to be bigger. Otherwise, you've got to cut your script down to fit the budget. I can't give you more than the budget. So they're the difficult times when you're having to deal with the producers and the accountants. And we all get different, on a movie, you get art department budget, stunt budget, makeup, hair, they all get their budgets. And sometimes you're fighting to get enough money to give the producer and director what they want on screen. If you can't, if they won't give you money for cars, you can't do car crashes. So
you're sounding a little bit like a politician in that you've not answered the question. What is the most difficult film you've worked on? Just name it.
I would say Daylight.
Daylight.
Yes, you were there, so you know.
Would that have anything to do with Mr. Sylvester Stallone?
Yes, it was just awkward, that's all. And it's sometimes the situations are difficult when you have to deal with egos with actors. You're trying to stroke their ego and get them, sometimes a director come up to you and say, can you get him to do this? Because he won't do it for me. Can you get him to do it? So you have to be a diplomat and try to get, the actors to do what the directors or producers won't do them for them. You've got to coax them into doing it.
Right.
So, yeah, it's sometimes difficult with some actors.
Right. Thank you for answering that. Last question. You got 2 minutes. From Karen, would you say it's harder to be a stunt person nowadays or easier?
It's a very good question, Karen. It's easier in terms of health and safety, but we had more fun and more flexibility in what we were allowed to do. I could run along the top of a rooftop on the apex, and I wouldn't have the accountants saying sign. Like in the old days, we used to have to sign a bloodshed, so that if you fell off or you were killed, it was your fault. So no matter what happened, it was your fault. These days they're on wires. You can fly around and do all amazing stuff in cars because a lot of it's CGI, and then get actors flying around on thick wires. When I flew for Superman, I was on a piano cage note, just a strand of piano wire cord. But now you can have thick cables on you and you can fly around and it's safer. I don't think, maybe they don't enjoy it as much as we did in terms of having to jump out of the way of a car or go over the bonnet. They still do them today, but the cars are a lot better. The padding is a lot better. They can speed it up. They can put you in any position on a road with lorries going past you and whatever. So yeah, it's easier today. But maybe they don't get as much enjoyment as we did in the old days. In the olden days.
In the olden days when we was all young.
Yeah.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much, Paul Weston, for being here. That was an amazing test run. I've really enjoyed that. Thank you for everybody for turning up. I think we kind of reached the dizzy heights of like 9 people, considering nobody knew we were here. And the last message from Dolly Wogan: well done, Jacqueline, and your guest, Paul Weston. Very interesting. Thank you. Thank you. Just to say, this is actually a test run for a weekly speakers speaking about speaking half an hour live stream that I'll be doing with speakers and speaking coaches every Tuesday from 4 until 5:30. So if you want to dip into that anytime, then please do. And yeah, it's been lovely to see you all. Thank you for being here. Bye.
Bye.